After a huge fight with my husband, I unexpectedly traveled back to my junior year of high school. The homeroom teacher roared angrily, "Sarah Miller, stand up right now." Trembling, I stood up and blurted out instinctively, "Dad." The whole class was stunned, and the teacher was left speechless. Even the son of the homeroom teacher sitting in front turned around and glared at me coldly. I glared back thinking, just wait till we get home, you're sleeping on the couch. After a huge fight with my husband over renovation plans, I pointed at our wedding photo and yelled, "Don't forget how shamelessly you chased after me back then, you ungrateful jerk." Ethan chased after me calling my name, "Sarah, you haven't eaten your fruit yet." Fuming, I turned back, grabbed an apple, and stormed out while munching on it. Blinded by rage, I tripped over my own feet as I exited the elevator and fell flat on my face. I got back up tearfully, brushing off my injured knee, when suddenly a football came flying straight at me. Damn it, who's playing football in front of the apartment building? I dodged out of the way and was about to curse when I saw the two athletes running toward me. They recognized me and abruptly stopped raising their hands. "Oh, it's Sarah, we didn't mean to." I was completely baffled and about to press for answers when the blue and white varsity jerseys they were wearing caught my eye. Northwood High. But didn't Northwood High change their school colors to orange 5 years ago? A furious shout came from behind. "Sarah Miller, the SATs are coming up and you're still fooling around outside." I turned around, my face frozen in horror, as if I'd seen a ghost. My high school homeroom teacher, abandoning his beat-up sedan, was storming toward me with an intimidating air. Meanwhile, I stood on the football field of Northwood High. In the distance, the warning bell for class rang not far away. My husband, or rather my future husband Ethan, stood beside his father's battered car, watching me coldly. Holy shit, I've traveled back to my junior year of high school, April, with less than 60 days left until the SATs. During morning self-study, I stood dazed at the back of the classroom as punishment. Amidst the chorus of reading voices, our homeroom teacher, Mr. Davis, kept peeking through the rear window like a specter. I was admiring my 9 years younger face in a pocket mirror when his sudden ghostly appearance nearly gave me a heart attack. Mr. Davis glared at the mirror in my hand. Under his furious gaze, I sheepishly put it away. All that remains of my memory of Mr. Davis is that cheerful little old man who happily served me turkey every Thanksgiving. I'd completely forgotten how utterly deranged he used to be. The morning self-study session ended with the bell, and I was just about to greet my old classmates. But before I could return to my seat, the entire class seemed to have been hit with a shutdown command. The whole class collapsed in unison, and the classroom fell into eerie silence. Just 2 seconds. How is someone already snoring? Is this what high school sleep deprivation looks like? I sit in the classroom permeated with body odor, sweat, and breakfast smells, utterly disheveled. Someone pokes me from behind. I turn around and see my best friend Jessica. Jessica, sporting the face of someone who is severely sleep deprived, asks weakly, "Math homework, let me copy." Oh my god, Jessica, you're the iron lady who could party all through spring break in Cancun during college. How did you become so listless? I was just about to pull out my math workbook when a pale, slender hand suddenly slammed down on my homework. I looked up in stunned silence. A face both strange and familiar came into view. On countless nights, he would hold me on the couch as we drank cola, ate popcorn, and watched romantic movies together. My husband Ethan coldly took away my workbook without even turning his head, dragging out his words, "Sarah, copying homework, I'll note it down and report to Mr. Davis." Jessica flew into a rage. "I'm the one copying homework." I was stunned. Suddenly, it came back to me. Back in junior year, Ethan was still my arch nemesis. 3. Ethan was the top student in math class. Our homeroom teacher was the math instructor, who also happened to be Ethan's biological father. I was the infamous Sarah of Northwood High, a peculiar underachiever in this elite school teeming with top students. Ethan and I became sworn enemies during our freshman year. I couldn't stand his perpetually icy expression, and he despised my idle, carefree attitude. I murmured to myself, "I remember everything now, everything." Jessica scrambled to her feet frantically, trying to finish her homework. Between tasks, she managed to ask, "What did you remember? How to solve today's math problems?" I froze. "What did you say?" The warning bell rang. Mr. Davis, our homeroom teacher, pushed the classroom door open with a grim expression. He walked and set down his water bottle and test papers, then began shouting, wake up, all of you. Can't you smell how foul the classroom is? You're all starting to reek, and with the SATs just around the corner, not a single one of you seems to feel any sense of urgency. I came down the hallway, and every other class is studying hard. You're truly the worst group I've ever taught." Mr. Davis rushed to open the windows and turned off the air conditioning. The classroom erupted in groans and sighs. I blended into the crowd, quietly cursing Mr. Davis under my breath. Mr. Davis suddenly changed the subject, his chubby finger pointing at me. "You come up here." I froze, pointing at myself. "Who, me?" Mr. Davis turned around and swiftly wrote a problem on the whiteboard. "Yes, you, Sarah, come solve this problem," he finished by flashing his menacing teeth at me, threateningly adding, "I've explained this problem countless times already. Surely no one still can't solve it." I walked up to the whiteboard, breaking out in a cold sweat. "What is this? Trigonometric functions, derivatives, calculus, or abandon?" I don't remember any of this at all, for I stood at the podium dripping with cold sweat. Behind me, Mr. Davis and more than 50 classmates were staring at me intently. Someone quickly scribbled down the solution on paper. Mr. Davis asked, "Isn't it simple? Just plug in the formula, right?" The entire class nodded like pounding garlic while I was sweating buckets. It's been 9 years since graduation. Forget formulas. I don't even remember our PE teacher's last name now. Seizing the moment when Mr. Davis stepped down to patrol the classroom, I quickly turned around and threw a desperate look at my best friend Jessica. Jessica was secretly flipping through her textbook under the desk, clearly counting on her was a mistake. She didn't know either. Mr. Davis suddenly looked up, his face darkening like stagnant water. I shuddered and immediately turned around, forcing myself to scribble some nonsensical formulas on the whiteboard. First right answer, then an X followed by setting an unknown variable.
Is cos x ida equal to n or miden x alpha vita.
Mr. Davis spoke up again. So can this problem be solved using trigonometric identities? The whole class responded in unison. Trigonometric identities. What was cos equal to again, equal to abandon. My heart was as dead as ashes as I stood on the podium, my face deathly pale on the verge of fainting. Plop, a small paper ball rolled to a stop at my feet. It was Jessica's rescue note. I quickly picked it up, unfolded it, and copied every word without missing a single one. Mr. Davis happened to walk by the podium, and I quickly stuffed the note into my pocket. Mr. Davis examined it for a long moment, the corners of his lips curling into a faint smile. Not bad. I let out a long sigh of relief and fled back to my seat as if escaping. Mr. Davis began lecturing on math that sounded like gibberish, so I took the opportunity to tilt back in my chair and thank my best friend. Thanks, Jess, that note really saved my life. Jessica said in confusion. What note, Jess? Sarah, why are you acting so weird today? Oh, right, it wasn't until after we turned 25 that Jessica and I started calling each other Jess and Saw. Right now we're still in that cringy phase of calling each other Sarah and Jessica. I came to my senses. So you didn't pass me the note, then who did? I raised my head, my gaze involuntarily falling diagonally forward. Ethan sat by the window, his back ramrod straight. The sunlight fell upon him, making his blue and white school uniform glimmer. Looking at my husband's youthful silhouette from his student days, I felt a mischievous impulse rising within me. I casually folded a small note and threw it with pinpoint accuracy, hitting Ethan squarely on the back. Ethan turned around expressionlessly. I mouthed silently, "Hi, hubby." Though you're not my husband yet. At this point, Ethan picked up the note, turned around, and stood up without hesitation. Teacher Sarah's passing notes. I nearly spat out my cola in shock. Damn, I almost forgot Ethan was still my sworn enemy at this time. 5. Mr. Davis paused while writing on the blackboard and asked in confusion. Passing notes, Sarah, to you. The entire class's gaze focused on me and Ethan. Ethan held the note firmly, neither servile nor overbearing. Sarah passed this note to the basketball team captain. I spat out my second sip of Coke in shock, forgot about that. Back in my junior year of high school, I was secretly crushing on our basketball team captain, who looked like a younger version of Chris Evans. I once shamelessly declared in front of Jessica, I'm totally into sporty guys who can dunk, nerds not my type. Throughout my senior year of high school, I persistently, yet bashfully displayed my personal charm in front of the basketball team captain. This manifested in having my front row classmate deliver a note to the captain sitting by the air conditioner every single day. The note read, Captain, could you please turn up the AC temperature a bit? That single tilde conveyed all the unspoken flutterings of a teenage girl's heart back in high school. Because Ethan and I were like fire and water, I always asked his desk mate to pass him notes. This time when I passed the note to Ethan, he mistakenly thought it was meant for the basketball team captain. But it was just a note. Why did Ethan have to report it publicly? Wasn't he the kind of top student who used to ignore everything outside his studies? Since when did he become so nosy? Ethan's shocking words made the basketball captain, who had been dozing off by the air conditioner, jolt awake. He never expected to be dragged into this mess out of nowhere. Mr. Davis wore an expression of amused anticipation, resting his elbows on the lectern and tilting his chin up. Read it aloud. Let us all appreciate what urgent matter Sarah needed to discuss with her classmate during lesson time. Ethan cleared his throat and unfolded the note, only for his face to instantly flush crimson. Mr. Davis egged him on with undisguised glee. Well, what does it say? I mimicked his mocking expression, thinking, go ahead and read it if you dare. The note said, Ethan Davis, you look just like my future husband. By lunch break, everyone was sluggishly heading to the cafeteria. My classmates all wore expressions of utter despair, and I couldn't muster any enthusiasm either. Until I reached the food counter, mac and cheese for $3, grilled chicken for $4, and spicy chili nachos with a free Coke for just $5. Were high school cafeterias always this affordable? Jessica turned to see my eyes gleaming and jumped in surprise. Did a starving ghost possess you? Didn't you eat breakfast? Tearfully, I shook my head. You wouldn't understand. At work we pay $15 for lunches that taste like death. I clutched my meal card and lunged toward the serving window like a starving wolf. Yet I failed to notice how my best friend Jessica grew pensive the moment I turned away. High school students wear numb expressions before lunch break, but transform into ravenous beasts when the bell rings. As I got swept along by the lunch rush crowd, watching the serving window grow increasingly distant, I anxiously turned to search for my friend, only to be yanked into the stairwell by a shadowy hand. Holy shit, a pervert! A pair of slender, attractive hands clamped over my mouth. Looking up, my eyes met Ethan's. With his naturally pale gray eyes set against that fair complexion, he stared at me coldly. Crossing my arms, I retorted, what are you doing? Ethan asked me with an expressionless face. What's the meaning of that note? I played dumb. What note? It's the thing you gave me in class. What was written on the note? Ethan instantly flushed red, his aloof mask shattered in an instant. He grew flustered, stammering out, you wrote it yourself. Why ask me? It's what was on the note. Why did you call me that? My playful side emerged, and I was just about to tease him when suddenly a voice came from upstairs in the hallway. Ethan was startled, and I instinctively pulled him to hide in the storage room behind us. As I stepped back, my left foot tripped over my right. Just as I was about to fall, Ethan suddenly exerted force, shielding the back of my head with his right hand while cushioning my fall with his body. Together we tumbled into the cramped storage room. I was dazed from the fall, my hands groping aimlessly in confusion. My ear happened to press against Ethan's chest, where I could hear his suddenly quickened heartbeat and ragged breathing. I was just about to say "Sore" when Ethan lowered his voice and whispered, "Someone is here." There were indeed people talking outside, but the content was, "Is that idiot who only eats salad for every meal from class 9. Seems like his name is Kevin Wong, so poor he can only afford $2 salads. Just looking at his shabby appearance pisses me off. How about we mess with him a bit?" Ethan and I exchanged glances. Kevin Wong was the classmate in charge of cleaning our classroom. 7. I sat up and peered through the gap in the storage room door. The group of jerks discussing how to mess with Kevin were all wearing sneakers and designer jackets, cigarette butts pinched between their fingers. I remembered every year the school admitted a batch of athletic recruits who didn't meet academic standards. Some of them neither trained seriously nor attended classes properly, spending their days flaunting brand names or racing around in modified cars. The ringleader with bleached yellow streaks walked out and returned minutes later dragging someone else inside. I looked up and saw Kevin Wong, Kevin who was in charge of cleaning, gripping a large broom and eyeing them warily. He had always struggled with a stutter, which had improved somewhat during his first 2 years of high school thanks to his classmates' encouragement, but now nervous as his stutter grew worse. What do you want? The blonde-haired boy and his companion exchanged glances before bursting into laughter. We don't want anything, haha, what a stuttering loser. The fury in my heart was now uncontrollable, and I completely forgot the rule I had set for myself: don't cause trouble. At that moment, Ethan suddenly grabbed the hem of my clothes. I glared at him. "What?" Ethan said, "Seriously, don't act rashly. Fighting will get you punished. The SAT is coming up soon." I had no choice but to suppress my anger and see how things would unfold. Kevin Wong stood at the stairwell stammering his explanation. "I was just, the class broom was broken, so I thought I'd fix it for our class during lunch." But his words were cut off by the blonde kid's sharp laughter. "What a good student. If you're so great, why not help us out, like giving us the math answers during the SAT? That blonde idiot was so stupid. The SAT proctoring was strict. None of us even knew which testing room we'd be assigned to." But Kevin Wong panicked, gripping the broom as he retreated, now dangerously close to being cornered at the edge of the staircase by these thugs. A cold sweat broke out on me. From what I remembered, Kevin had accidentally fallen down the stairs 2 months before the SATs, causing him to underperform and only get into community college. His family couldn't afford to transfer him, and we lost touch after that. Who would be thought there was more to Kevin's fall than met the eye? The blonde-haired bully pressed closer, but Kevin still stood his ground, stubbornly clutching the classroom broom in his hands. Seeing the blonde guy raise his hand, smack, a crisp slap echoed, but it was me who rushed out, pushed him away, and took the chance to slap him back. Kevin Wong exclaimed joyfully. "Sarah," I turned and shouted, "what kind of time is this to be calling my name? Run, Kevin." The blonde guy snarled, "Where did this bitch come from?" With that, he signaled his buddies, and they closed in to beat us up. A breeze brushed past as a figure stepped in front of me. Ethan shielded both Kevin and me, my nose just inches from his back. The freshly washed school uniform carried the pleasant scent of laundry detergent. Ethan maintained his icy expression that looked like everyone owed him money, facing a group of delinquents without flinching, only bullying classmates. What kind of skill is that? The blonde-haired thug didn't respond, throwing a fist straight at Ethan. In an instant they were tangled in a brawl. Ethan pulled into the fray, while Kevin and I were shoved out instead. At that moment I could no longer care about Ethan being my sworn rival. I kicked and cursed at the delinquents trying to force my way in to help him. Kevin mustered his courage, wildly swinging a broom, while shouting to psych himself up. The next second Mr. Davis kicked open the stairwell fire door and roared, "Who dares bully my students?" By the end, me, Ethan, and Kevin Wong were all sporting injuries. Ethan got the worst of it. The school nurse handed him an ice pack to press against his bruised right cheek. Kevin twisted his left hand while swinging the broom, now grimacing and clutching his elbow. There were 2 bloody scratches on my neck accidentally caused by Kevin's broom. Kevin and I exchanged a knowing smile. "Thanks, Sarah." "Glad you're okay, Kevin." After high-fiving Kevin, I turned to look for Ethan. Ethan kept his left side turned toward me. No matter how much I pestered him, I couldn't catch a glimpse of his right cheek. Furious, I stood up and snatched the ice pack from his hand. Ethan gritted his teeth, give it back, but instinctively shielded his injured right cheek with his hand. I pulled his hand away, leaned in, and pressed the ice pack against his wound. Ethan froze in place, and I teased him, "So you're afraid of looking ugly in front of me, hey? Why is the other side of your face turning red too?" Ethan was pulled by his right hand, his body leaning back, his left hand bracing behind him. I shamelessly moved closer, applying the ice pack for him while secretly tracing the contours of his still youthful face with my gaze. Her skin was flawless, pale, and smooth, unlike a decade later, when too much sun exposure during travels would tan it into a healthy, wheat complexion. By the time I realized we were too close, Ethan's breath had already mingled with mine. I murmured, "You," while Ethan's gaze involuntarily drifted to my lips. Kevin said dimly, "You too." Just then Mr. Davis's furious roar came from the principal's office nearby. "Why should my students be punished?" The 3 of us exchanged glances, sensing gossip in the air, and immediately huddled by the door. I could only hear the principal in his office patiently persuading. It was Sarah Miller who hit someone first, and the other student's father is a school board member. It's better to avoid trouble. Just have Miller come out to apologize, and we can consider the matter closed. You just need to have that girl come out, apologize, bow, and make a self-criticism. Your son won't be punished. So, why are you getting so worked up? My heart sank. The principal continued that Sarah Miller doesn't even have good grades. She's dragging your class down, not to mention she's a boarding student with no parents around. So, Principal Mr. Davis interrupted him. Do you think just because she's a girl with poor grades and parents who aren't around, she's an easy target? Thinking of my parents working in the big city, my nose stung with tears, but suddenly my right hand was firmly grasped by someone. Turning my head, I saw Ethan's slightly flushed profile, yet he held my left hand so tightly that his knuckles turned white. The principal laughed. "Davis, you really are clever." Bang! Mr. Davis slammed the desk with such force that even the door panels trembled slightly. In my eyes, there are no students who are easy targets, no students with poor grades, no students whose parents are school board members. I only know that Kevin, who was bullied, is my student, and Sarah, who stood up for him, is also my student. Bullies picking on my students, not happening. You want to mess with my students? Absolutely impossible. 10 In the end, the principal compromised, but I still had to make a self-criticism at Monday's morning assembly. On Monday, I deliberately got up early and arrived at the classroom by 6:30 to finish writing my self-criticism speech. The morning light seeped lazily through the long windows, flooding the classroom with its gentle glow. Outside the windows, the gardenias were in full bloom, their sprawling dark brown branches and snow-white buds crowding against every pane, fragmented into disjointed frames by the vertical window mullions. I yawned and flung my backpack onto the desk. Time for a nap. I could write the self-critique during English class. By the time I woke up, my face was slick with drool, my features askew. A cream-colored letter paper appeared at the corner of the desk opening. At the elegant and dignified handwriting unmistakably revealed a pre-written self-criticism essay on my behalf. There was no signature, but I knew this handwriting all too well. In the 10 years that followed in my life, this handwriting would appear on greeting cards, love letters, and our marriage certificate. Looking up, I saw gardenias blooming outside the window under the brilliant sunlight. A beam of light passed through the gaps between flower buds and branches, perfectly illuminating Ethan's straight back. Ethan, that old rival of mine, turned out to be quite different from what I remembered. Rubbing my numb shoulder from sleeping awkwardly, I suddenly changed my mind. Since I'm reliving my senior year of high school anyway, why not be bolder? At 11 o'clock, I stood on the school assembly stage and began speaking clearly. But it wasn't a self-criticism, it was an honest recount of what happened that day. At school, we shouldn't compete over who eats better, whose sneakers are more expensive, or whose father is richer. The true wealth that belongs to us is measured by who has more genuine friends, whose class is more united, and who better understands how to respect others. I never thought I did anything wrong this time. I want to thank my friend. He stood up for us when we were being ganged up on. I don't think I was wrong. I believe stopping bullying isn't wrong. That is all I have to say. Principal, you can punish me now. The national flag fluttered high above as the sun beat down mercilessly. I stood on the platform, met with complete silence from the audience below. Amidst the silence, a figure suddenly stepped forward. Ethan strode up quickly. This honor student, who consistently ranked in the top 3, this model child known for his icy demeanor, now stood beside me, the problem student in his blue and white school uniform under the gaze of the entire school. His spine was straight as he stood beside me like an indigo bamboo shoot growing tall. Kevin Wong, in charge of cleaning duties, walked up, wearing a faded old t-shirt. My best friend Jessica flipped her hair and quickly ran up to the podium, linking arms with me. The class monitor, who always competed with Ethan for top grades and wore thick glasses, came trotting over. The class beauty, Chloe, put away her mirror and gracefully stepped behind me. Class 9 of grade 12, all 45 students, without any prior discussion, knowing full well they might face disciplinary action, stepped out from the ranks one by one and walked onto the podium. The basketball team captain, that young Chris Evans lookalike, had somehow appeared by my side. I turned to look for Ethan, and the basketball captain shouted at the top of his lungs, "Punish us all together. We want to admit we're wrong." The entire class's emotions were instantly stirred, their voices becoming unified, growing louder and more resonant. "We want to admit we're wrong. We did nothing wrong." Little stammerer Kevin's voice rang out the loudest among them. Unconsciously, everyone clenched their fists tighter, faces filled with defiance. We were intoxicated by our fervor, no grievances or tears in our eyes, only an overwhelming sense of justice. Down below, Mr. Davis turned around and secretly wiped away a tear. Then he straightened his back and proudly declared to the surrounding classes, "See that this is my class. These are my students, the best batch I've ever taught." The principal's face turned purple. We laughed without restraint. After this review, I ultimately didn't receive any punishment. At the peak of our collective outrage, we even clasped our classmates' hands and raised them high in the air. With one hand gripped by Jessica and the other firmly held by the basketball team captain standing in the front row, I couldn't turn my head to look back. Nor did she notice Ethan pushed to the back, watching our tightly clasped hands with a fleeting shadow of loneliness in his eyes. After it was over, Mr. Davis hurried us back to class. "Jessica and I walked arm in arm," she remarked casually. "It's mock exam day on Wednesday. How's your preparation going?" I was still lost in the heat of the moment, grinning foolishly as I said, "What exam? What mock exam?" Jessica narrowed her eyes. "SAT mock exam." "I'm an idiot. I'm done for." I managed to scribble through the English exam essay somehow. I guessed all 50 multiple-choice math questions and couldn't even fake my way through the fill-in-the-blank problems. By the time the second question was read out, history had already dozed off. When I woke up, the invigilator was holding my drool-stained exam paper with a complicated expression on their face. During the comprehensive physics and chemistry exam, Mr. Davis proctored, passing by me 5 times and sighing 12 times. As I racked my brain trying to fill the last chemistry problem with English words, a good news and a bad news flashed through my mind. The bad news is if I can't travel back, then I'll only score 900 on my SAT 1T. I'd be totally screwed. Back in the day, even though I was at the bottom of my class, I still managed to barely scrape by on my SATs and got into a college in Boston. With grades like these, even schools in Africa wouldn't want me. At the moment the exam bell rang, a sudden flash of inspiration struck me, as if a light had been turned on in my mind. Wait, I've traveled back in time, so the SAT exam questions from my time, wouldn't those be the exact same questions on the test 2 months from now? Mr. Davis, your daughter-in-law, still a student, is about to make a comeback. Not just me, the whole class is about to make a comeback. Friend, let me ask you this, if 10 years after the college entrance exams, could you still remember the test questions? Clearly I had completely forgotten all the SAT questions by the very next day after taking the exam. If God would give me a second chance, I'd spend that morning the one I wasted arguing with Ethan memorizing every SAT question from back then. Along with the mock exam results came an enraged Mr. Davis. Holding the score report, he stood on the podium so angry he could barely speak coherently. Sarah Miller, stand up. I trembled as I rose, instinctively blurting out, Dad. The whole class was stunned. The homeroom teacher was speechless. Even Ethan in the front row turned to glare at me coldly. I glared back, thinking, what are you looking at? Just wait till I travel back in time. I'll make you sleep on the couch. Mr. Davis was heartbroken and furious. Sarah, with grades like these you can forget about college. You'll be lucky to get into Couch University. I slumped into my seat, just about to heave a sigh of relief and escape reality with a nap when class ended, but Jessica dragged me to the bathroom with her. Hands in my pockets, head hanging low, I trudged along as Jessica walked ahead of me the whole way. The surroundings changed abruptly, and I suddenly realized something was wrong. Jessie, where is this? Jessica lunged at me, her eyes fierce, forming a gun shape with her index finger and thumb pressed against my forehead. You're not Sarah. Who the hell are you? I froze. Jessica spoke slowly and methodically. I knew something was off when you called me Jessie that day, referring to mock exams. As some test your total scores across subjects, not even reaching 900. Spill it. Who are you really? I sighed. Finally reaching this point, I spread my hands and took 2 steps back. Jessica still watched me warily. You, Jessica Chin, birthday June 12th, Gemini, dream of being a bank teller, counting money every day with fixed working hours. The gift I gave you for your 17th birthday was a sandalwood bracelet, and for your 18th birthday, it was an instant camera. I said it all in one breath, and Jessica's expression gradually shifted from wariness to astonishment. It sounds unbelievable, but the me standing before you now, ISN T18, it's 28, that's why I call you Jessie. Don't know about the mock exams, and my total scores across subjects don't even reach 900. I smiled bitterly. I know it's hard to believe. Jessica screamed, but I believe you. You wouldn't lie to me. This is so cool. Jessica pulled me down to sit. She was extremely curious about the future. Did I become a bank teller later? I sighed. I'm afraid. No. A fleeting shadow of disappointment crossed Jessica's eyes. I gritted my teeth. After your SATs, your parents gifted you the latest Ferrari, forcing you to return and inherit the family business. Jessica blushed shyly. Then what about me 10 years later? I deadpanned. You went to college in Boston, dated every handsome guy in your department, even had romantic scandals with several indie band musicians at New York bars. After graduation, disillusioned with love, you devoted yourself to making money by filming CEO skits on TikTok. You successfully completed the company's second transformation and doubled your net worth. Jessica twisted her fingers. Sounds pretty good to me. I was furious. Not just not bad, it was absolutely amazing. Throughout college, I went to bars with you, watched you flirt with guys while I could only watch enviously because I was already married. Jessica's eyes widened. You were in a relationship. I shook my head. To be precise, I got married right after graduation. Jessica's gossipy heart immediately perked up. With whom? The basketball team captain or a college classmate? I cut her off. Jessie, don't be mad. Jessica pinched the space between her nose and upper lip. Go on, I'll try. You know him, high school classmate, senior, junior. From our class, not little Chris, Evans, Jason, Leo. The only other handsome guys in our class besides those 3 are. I closed my eyes. That's right, it's Ethan. After a moment of silence, Jessica was on the verge of passing out when she opened her eyes. I quickly supported her. Bestie, don't be like this. Jessica murmured. When you two got married, did Ethan exile me to sit at the table with the dogs? Don't say that you gave us $20,000 for our wedding. Of course you sat at Mr. Davis' table. Jessica stared straight at me. So you married our homeroom teacher's son. Hee ISN T. It's surprising. 15 though, it was clearly more shocking than surprising. It took Jessica all morning to digest the fact that I demarried Ethan 10 years later, after which her gaze toward him became increasingly peculiar. Meanwhile, enlightened by Jessica's revelation, the fog in my mind suddenly cleared, and I rushed to the English teacher's office. English teacher, Mrs. Peterson, held her head in her hands, smiling at me. What's the matter, my sweetheart? Looking at Mrs. Peterson's youthful face, my heart suddenly ached. 2 years later, Mrs. Peterson would follow her husband, who died in the line of duty, and leave this world together. I hesitated before speaking. Teacher, I've learned about an essay topic that I mean it could be very important. Mr. Peterson didn't just laugh it off. Instead, she very seriously took out paper and pen. Tell me, I'll write it down. Before leaving Mr. Peterson's office, I turned back and ran to her again. Teacher, could you tell your husband something? Ask him not to always take on dangerous missions, especially during next summer vacation. Mr. Peterson tilted her head and smiled helplessly. I wish I could, but he always charges ahead first. Someone has to charge at the most dangerous front lines. 16. Imagining my future self. What kind of messed up topic is this? The class wailed in despair as they stared at the assignment written on the whiteboard. I sat at my desk, guiltily covering my head while thinking that right, this messed up topic is your SAT essay prompt this year. The classroom buzzed with chatter. This topic appearing in the oppressive atmosphere of our senior year sparked a glimmer of boundless imagination about the future among everyone. The class beauty, Chloe, took out her lipstick from her bag and applied it unhurriedly. I just want my future to be steady and sure, with every step on the right path. The class heartthrob Jason sat beside her. Everyone thought Jason and Chloe liked each other, and I even bet Jessica $100 they'd start dating after graduation. Jason added modestly, I believe in you. I couldn't resist being snarky, who knows princess. Chloe put away her lipstick and asked curiously, what do you mean? Would you believe me if I said I have superpowers? Fortunately, Chloe was both beautiful and gentle-natured. She showed no trace of disgust and played along. I believe you. Tell me I formed 2 circles with my hands. I can actually see everyone's future. Tarot cards. Chloe frowned, trying to make sense of this through normal human logic. I quickly brushed it off. Yes, something like that. A crowd of curious classmates had gathered around us. Stealing myself, I said to Chloe. I can see your future, and it's truly brilliant, but compared to the future you envision, there will be many more twists and turns. Twists and turns. Chloe furrowed her delicate brows, then quickly relaxed them. I'm not afraid of challenges. You may have misunderstandings with the person you love, but in the end you'll resolutely run towards each other. Chloe laughed, lifting her beautiful head high. I've always been firm enough in my choices. After graduation, Chloe got engaged to Jason, and I even attended their proposal ceremony, but right before the engagement Jason suddenly disappeared. None of our classmates could reach him. Later, after 2 years, they got married, but both wore stern expressions throughout the wedding. I wasn't aware of the underlying circumstances, but chatting with Chloe had clearly piqued everyone's interest. My classmates buzzed with excitement, eager to hear me talk about their futures. Zoe was laughing and playfully bickering with Leo. Zoe ranked at the bottom of our class academically, but she was pursuing an arts path, stunningly beautiful, with outstanding vocal skills. Rumor had it she'd be competing on The Voice later this year. Leo, on the other hand, was a competition genius from a wealthy family. He occasionally paid attention in class, but mostly slept through lessons year-round. Word was he'd soon be going abroad without taking the SATs. Zoe later became a singer. I declared confidently, and your future lover is right here beside you. Leo sneered. Who else could it be? Jason, the basketball team captain, or some D-list celebrity? Zoe was so angry she wanted to hit him. Watching them, I thought, Leo, you're just being stubborn as a dead duck. No wonder 10 years later Zoe would rather keep breaking up and making up with that minor celebrity boyfriend of hers than pay any attention to you. Kevin Wong asked curiously, while sweeping. What about me then? After failing his SATs, Kevin lost contact with us, but this time he didn't break his arm. So, you did exceptionally well on your SAT, I stated confidently. You performed beyond expectations. Grew increasingly self-assured afterwards, stopped stuttering completely, and even became a public speaker. Kevin shyly picked up a broom to sweep the hallway. The chubby Sophie from our class asked timidly, did I lose weight after going to college? Sophie and I ended up in the same major, so I knew her future like the back of my hand. In college, someone kept stealing your takeout every single day. You lost 50 pounds from sheer frustration. Was it because you were angry about the stolen takeout? No, it's because you deliberately ordered takeout and added laxatives to it. Then a handsome guy accidentally took the wrong order and ended up in the hospital because of your medicine. You took care of him tirelessly. Later you were entangled with that handsome guy for 8 years, but it ended without any resolution, leaving you as a lonely beauty. I didn't say the rest. The class monitor with thick glasses shuffled over hesitantly. I want to know about my future career. I recalled at an age when everyone around you was dating. You persisted on the path of scientific research. In the future, I saw you still hadn't found the answer to the problem you were studying. The class monitor asked joyfully. I persevered, didn't I? I was taken aback for a moment, then nodded solemnly, saying, you've always been that slender petite person in my heart, someone with a strong will who could hold fast to your dreams. A classmate nearby chimed in, what about you, Sarah? Did you see your own future? Instinctively I glanced at Ethan's seat, but all that remained was the gardenia outside the window. The chair was empty. 17, I didn't get into a particularly good university. At least when the results came out, I was disappointed. I was never destined to be one of those prodigies who could get into Ivy League schools, let alone wealthy kids like Jason, Leo, or Chloe, who could study abroad. I wasn't even a model student who could get into a top state university. I was just an ordinary person who was a bit slow, but when I reached the age of 28 and looked back, only then did I realize that the SAT, which had been demonized by countless parents and teachers as one exam determining your entire life before we turned 18, actually couldn't single-handedly dictate our futures. After graduating from college, I found a modest-paying job as an assistant at a counseling center, squeezing into a tiny Boston apartment with my boyfriend Ethan. Ethan was in grad school, while I worked earning less than his scholarship stipend. Gradually, I discovered I had some talent for counseling, so I began studying again. Since I was studying a field I was passionate about this time, I quickly completed my exams, rented a place with my savings, and opened my own private practice. The first year wasn't ideal, and I often struggled to keep up with the rent. Fortunately, Ethan, who was usually sarcastic and pragmatic, never complained about it. He would quietly make me a hearty dinner whenever I was stressed. Gradually, the clinic improved. Maybe it was because of my passion, or perhaps I had truly found my calling. In any case, by the time I was 28, my income was enough to cover all the family's expenses and leisure activities. Ethan also graduated with his PhD, wearing crimson academic regalia as he held me close for photos on Harvard Yard's lawn during the commencement ceremony. Perhaps my 18-year-old self would have been overwhelmed by forgotten homework, failed exams, and SAT anxieties. But looking back from the vantage point of 28, I can only smile at those worries. People always say the high school entrance exam is life's watershed moment. The SAT is life's watershed moment. The postgraduate entrance exam is a watershed moment in life. How many watershed moments can there be? Do they really think we're the Hoover Dam? Some marry young but constantly quarrel with their partners. Some inherit family businesses, yet lie awake every night from anxiety. Some follow the conventional path, but still grow weary of their monotonous lives. Life rarely goes as planned, or perhaps even if you take the path you currently desire, you'll still regret it many years later. So go ahead boldly, there's always a future waiting just for me. 18 Mr. Davis stormed into the classroom, his beard bristling with anger. The SAT is coming up. Why aren't you studying? Study one topic a day, master one concept, and by test day you'll have 35 more under your belt. The class immediately scattered like startled birds, each shrinking into their seats like quails. A note suddenly landed on my desk. I instinctively looked up. Ethan had somehow returned to his seat without me noticing, now sitting ramrod straight like a bamboo shoot. Opening the note, it read, "Did you see my future?" 19 Ethan stepped onto the rooftop, his expression still hesitant. I called out to him. "Over here." Ethan whispered nervously, "Keep your voice down." Crossing my arms, I asked, "Do you want to know your future?" Ethan obediently walked over and stood before me. "I do." My eyes rolled playfully. "Your future, let me see. You did exceptionally well on your SATs. Oh, you completed your bachelor's, master's, and PhD in one continuous path. Mr. Davis was so proud, bragging about you daily in his office." I spread my hands. "That's it." Ethan suddenly looked up flustered. "That's all then?" I teased him on purpose. "What then besides studying?" "Besides studying, what else do you want to know?" Ethan Davis. Well, Ethan blushed visibly, even on the rooftop. I smiled. "You ended up with someone who loves you." Ethan murmured, "Someone who loves me? Holy shit, I've traveled back in time." Crossing my arms, I sized him up. "I wasn't sure if you loved her now, but..." Ethan pressed, "But what?" I jumped up and smacked his head. "But I'm still not sure, you big dummy. How can you make a girl take the initiative?" Ethan stood frozen for a moment before suddenly realizing something. "That note you left that day." 20 I opened my eyes to see the hospital curtains before me, fully awake. My hand was tightly held in someone's grasp. I tried to pull it slightly, and Ethan, who had been resting his head by the bed, looked up, paused for a moment, then quickly stood up. "How are you? Still feeling unwell? Does your head still hurt? I'll call the doctor." I grabbed his arm. The 28-year-old Ethan stopped and leaned closer, asking, "What's wrong?" "Quick fire questions, okay? Ask away." "Remember why we fought?" "Because I forgot to buy wipes when getting toilet paper to save $2. "Do you know you were wrong?" "Yes, darling. I've already put a sticky note on my desk to remind myself every day." "What about your dad? He has proctoring SATs this year and can't leave the state for a whole month. How about we visit our high school teacher, Mr. Peterson, at the cemetery this weekend?" "Sure, I'll drive you. Buy the flowers." "Did you ever consider seating Jessica at the same table as the dog during our wedding?" I really wanted to, but when I saw her putting the gift money in a document folder, I dropped the idea. "Ethan Davis, have you had a crush on me since high school?" "Yes." Ethan paused, then declared without hesitation, "I've had a crush on you for a long time. Sarah Miller, will you accept my pursuit?" I pulled his head toward me and planted a loud kiss on his forehead. "Approved, hubby classmate." The end.